from the vault, high atop the pastoral center of the Diocese of Camden, you're listening to Talking Catholic.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Talking Catholic. I'm Jen Morrow, and with me today is Michael Walsh.
I almost introduced myself for the first time, as if I haven't already been a part of this podcast for 2017 and didn't remember that I'm introduced every time, which is impressive because, I'm going to let the listeners know now, this is our 400th episode.
400.
400. I'll be honest with you. I really didn't see it ever going past 400, so I really don't. This may be the last episode. People could be listening to the last episode.
Did you see it going past 1? Actually, Mary McCusker was here then. She was awesome.
Well, she was the first one.
Right.
But it's never been aired. She was episode 1. Actually, technically,
right.
I guess episode 0. She was the test episode.
That's right.
And I've threatened when Mary dies, we are going to run that episode.
You have said that. Also, right before this podcast started, you said, let's keep this one upbeat, and you have mentioned death in the first 1 minute.
I personally consider death upbeat.
What?
Well, as long as people have led a good, long life, I think I'm cool with that.
Accurate.
Yeah, the short ones are the ones that are sad. But
400 episodes.
400 episodes.
Does it feel like 400 episodes?
Every day. I just had to edit myself, by the way. I was wondering. I should let
Is that the deep inhale, take a breath?
Yep. I should let the listeners know that you and I and the entirety of the Diocese of Camden is quite punchy, at least in the Chancery offices, because we are running on little sleep, lots of work, juggling many bowling pins simultaneously while we're trying to get everything done because we have a big event on September's 9th and 8th. Or wait, hold on, 9th and 10th?
September's 9th and 10th.
9th and 10th, because we have our big welcome Vespers on the 9th for Bishop Williams and our big massive welcome on the 10th, and we're all very excited about that. Bishop Williams, after having tied up all of his loose ends in the Archdiocese of St. Paul and Minneapolis, joined us in South Jersey a couple of weeks ago. He's actually on retreat right now, preparing for his mass next week. But yeah, he's here, and he's been. You actually had a 2-hour interview with him that resulted in 5,000 words of writing.
Yeah, actually it did. Yeah,
I cannot wait to edit that down to
It's too late.
300.
I decided not to let you see it, so you could just edit on the page. Then you'll be tired and be like, "This looks great." I'm just gonna go with it. No, I was amazed. Bishop Williams has been obviously very busy since he arrived, and then right before his retreat, before the massive welcome for our coadjutor, he sat down with me, and I only expected maybe 45 minutes, if I was lucky, an hour. And I got 2 hours, and I'm going to be honest. We sat down, and he spent the first 30 minutes interviewing me. And I said, I didn't say Father. I said, Bishop, I'm supposed to be interviewing you. And he said he wanted to get to know me a little, and I thought that was very, very nice. And then we just talked. It was a 2-hour conversation. As you know, Mike, I can talk.
Get out.
Yeah, I know. It's a shocking development. Yeah. So I was very respectful of his time and I stopped a few times. I was. Don't give me that look. And
That's
said,
not the look I'm giving you.
And said, do you have somewhere to be? But he took the whole 2 hours and we had a lovely conversation. All 3,000 words. I have edited it down since we last spoke. 3,000 words, which can be found in the upcoming issue of the Catholic Star Herald. We'll have a special supplement for Bishop Williams, in addition to all of the coverage of the welcome Mass, Massive Welcome, and Vespers. And it's in a question and answer format. So you might say like more than 200 words. People are going to I'm not reading that. But you can't help yourself. You're going to love reading every word of it because they're his words, not mine. It's going to be great.
Readers, don't worry. I'll fix it when I get to it. Don't worry about it, guys. That sounds like an awful lot of words.
No, it's great. It's going to be a question and answer. You can pick it up and put it down when you want, but you're not going to be able to put it down once you pick it up.
Just to be clear, I've been in his presence like 3 or 4 times, and I'm pretty sure I haven't made it past one sentence with him.
That's you. That's on you,
I
Mike.
know, that is an active attempt. I really try to go out of my way not to talk to anybody.
All right, there's too many great interjections that are being missed because we have not introduced our guest.
It's killing him, as a matter of fact. I can tell. He's fidgeting over there.
Mike, who do we have with us today?
We have one of our favorite podcast guests, and I'm so happy he could be here on a historic podcast, one that will go down in the record books as perhaps being our last ever podcast. But we have the chancellor of the diocese, Father Jason Rocks, with us.
Yes, I am here. And I would just say that it's always amazing that you get past a sentence with anybody, Michael.
It really is.
Usually once you say hello, people say, oh, that's nice, and walk away.
Right past.
But it's good to be here with you two, and as we prepare for an exciting week next week. And you're right, the Chancery staff, not myself, that is,
of course,
have been working tirelessly to prepare for this celebration, and it is a day to celebrate. As we prepare to really formally welcome into the diocese Bishop Williams next Tuesday.
Yeah.
Beginning with the Vesper service on Monday evening, where we will pray the prayer of the church, evening prayer. We try to sanctify the day by praying throughout the day. It's a practice that goes even back into to Judaism of praying throughout the day at certain times, fixed times, and Vespers is the evening prayer of the church. And we'll pray some psalms, we'll listen to some scriptures, we'll have some petitions. I believe Bishop Williams will probably preach. I'm not sure. I haven't actually seen the format yet.
Yes, he will preach.
He will
also
say a few words.
Also sign a document, too, right?
We're planning for him to do his oath of fidelity and his oath of office. As somebody takes a new office in the church, they're always supposed to do those things. Pastors do them. So it's similar to when the pastors do it, or even when the bishop came, Bishop Sullivan. His will be, as the coadjutor, he'll have the office of Vicar General to show that he has one office really with Bishop Sullivan, that they're one office. He's so to speak, a vicar means basically the voice. So he's the bishop's voice in these areas. And that'll be a good way to for him to really kind of learn how to do a lot of the executive stuff that's involved with being the ordinary of the diocese. And he'll be able to work with Father Hughes and Bishop Sullivan to really get ready for hopefully March when Bishop Sullivan's allowed to finally retire.
Finally.
And we'll see.
We say that with joy in our hearts. And not because we're looking forward to kicking him to the curb, but because he is going to be 80 soon.
Correct.
And he himself is quite very much looking forward to having done quite a lot of work long into his late 70s.
He has. Somebody's never really been still.
He isn't.
So this will be really interesting. For him.
It will. We will have him on the podcast at some point, I promise. But I do want to go back for a second.
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
Okay, we can go back to your stuff too. But I wanted a warning to everybody who's listening right now. So we've been talking about these events that are happening. Because of security issues and because of the size of the facilities, I should let everyone know that these are ticketed events. So as you're hearing us talk about them, know that unless you have a ticket, you won't be able to get in. It's not because we're trying to block anybody out. It's simply because we know that space is going to be at a premium. Additionally, the apostolic nuncio to the United States will be coming, and that is essentially the ambassador to the United States on the part of the Vatican, which makes all of these homeland security events. So there will be security all over the place. We need to make sure that the people who are there are the people who are supposed to be there. So we do apologize if you were hoping to attend. However, just know that myself and John Kalitz will be slaving away at both of these events, providing the live stream, which we're actually going to have more cameras, new angles. So hopefully it'll look even better on your laptop, iPad, phone, YouTube device of whatever you need.
Only if you remember to take the covers off, Michael.
For once. I know, just for once. But you can find that all at youtube.com/Camden Diocese and facebook.com/Camden Diocese. And see all of our live streams. So what did you want to go back to, Jen?
Did you want to tell people what time to tune into the live stream?
They can find it on their own. No, just kidding. The Vespers are at 5 o'clock and the 5:30? 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock on September 9th.
September 9th. And the live stream for the Massive Welcome will start at 1:30 p.m. on September 10th, Eastern Time. if anybody in Minnesota is currently listening.
They might be.
I know they are. I've been tracking like where we're getting a lot of listenership from.
Right.
And the middle of the country has suddenly taken an interest in talking Catholic. Very happy to hear
I'm going to say I've been delighted to talk to all the Minnesota people.
They probably just want to listen to our bizarre accent.
And how fast we talk.
And it is reciprocal, I assure you.
It's true. It's true.
Oh, that brings up a good question. When you were talking to Bishop Williams, I don't want to out him or anything like that. Did you find that he was a slower paced conversationalist than what we are used to on the East Coast?
Well, I was in my listening mode, Mike.
I've never been present for that.
Purely listening and not looking to interject my own conversation in, I did not notice.
Okay.
I noticed a very pleasant cadence and lovely conversation. But yes, an accent.
I do think before long he will speak just like anybody else from South Jersey.
Correctly.
A little bit of that South Jersey twang, and not quite as fast as North Jersey, but still a lot quicker than Alabama.
Man, we're getting all the insults in today. This is nice.
He did use the word gosh, which I thought was adorable. And also, he was telling a great story about the music, the kind of music he likes to listen to, and about how
metal.
Yep.
Okay.
And about when he was a teenager, and one of his brothers wanted to include that in a speech, and his mother said, "No, we probably shouldn't do that." And Bishop Williams said, "Oh, Mom, that would have been neat." And I love it. I got quite the giggle out of that because he's just so down to earth. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Listeners, don't forget that she spent her formative years in Texas and Colorado, so she's really Midwestern at heart. She's barely Jersey girl, even though she's lived here for 20 years.
Texas considers themselves first their own entity.
That is true. That's
is
a good
very
point.
true.
I
Or
stand
the
corrected.
West. But my question to go back to Father Rux, you mentioned that he is the vicar, but he's not the vicar general, right? Father Hughes is still a vicar general?
So he and Father Hughes will each be
Vicars.
They'll each have that office.
Okay.
How those duties will be divided is up to them. They'll figure that out. A lot of the stuff that Bishop Williams will do is basically all the stuff that you would normally see Bishop Sullivan do. In terms, he'll do a lot of what they would call the pontificals. Like he'll go out to do masses and confirmations and installations and all those things. And Father Hughes will continue to be the moderator of the Curia to make sure that everything is actually working in tandem, so to speak. So, and it's just to make sure that everybody knows that his authority is rooted in Bishop Sullivan's authority. That they're one office, so you can't play them off each other.
And actually, we should tell everyone and remind everyone that Bishop Williams does not have the gig yet. This is Bishop Sullivan's diocese until his resignation is accepted by the Holy Father, which we've been promised will be March 17th, promised on Bishop Sullivan's behalf, which will be his 80th birthday. But until that time, he's got full reign.
He will, and he will continue to run the diocese or shepherd the diocese. And during that time, he will also assist Bishop Williams into growing into that position. Yeah, to really learn how to do it and to kind of be like a be like a role model or I can't think of the word
tutor?
right now. Tutor, not tutor.
Mentor.
I meant tutor homes.
That's it, mentor. To kind of mentor him a bit, as there's things that he's never done or been exposed to because he hasn't worked in that part of the chancery. Yeah. So to learn those things will be good, and there's nobody better to learn from than Bishop Sullivan. Oh yeah, because he's often said, no, I learned this from this bishop. How do you do these things? Yeah,
a lot of Cardinal Egan influence.
Yeah, so he'll always talk about that. Like, no, he taught me how to do it, and this is the right way to do it, and this is how we will proceed with those matters. So those will be good things. And then by the time he does take the reins, he'll have a sense of the diocese, and he'll have a sense of who the people are and also who all the priests are and all the people in the different councils that he'll sit in on, and he'll have a sense of how things are ran so that he can take over rather seamlessly, which is also nice.
And he has been getting around. He said Mass at Holy Angels Parish in Woodbury 2 Sundays ago, simply because it was his nearby parish. Actually, technically, the pastor there is his pastor, and he wanted to just help out in the parish, so he went over there and said Mass. And it actually begged a question that he did something during the Mass that I've never seen anyone do before. And since you're here, I'm going to ask you. I've seen many a bishop give many a homily, but it's the first time I ever saw a bishop giving the homily, wearing the mitre and holding the crozier while he gave it.
That's a normal way.
Is it?
When
Okay.
you actually look at particularly like the pontificals for like ordination and things like that, the expectation is that he's with his mitre and his crozier.
Okay.
Right? Symbols of his teaching authority and so forth, right? And his authority as the bishop. So that's not an unusual thing. A lot of bishops, if they're preaching from the pulpit and they're using a text, they want both their hands free. And a lot of them, if they're just in the course of a normal Mass, they'll take their mitre off to preach. They won't worry about it. But Bishop Sullivan, whenever he does the ordinations or the institutions for one of the lectors or acolytes or something along those lines, he generally wears his mitre when he preaches, and he'll usually sit. And the only reason why he probably doesn't hold his crozier at that point is because he's got a text in front of him. He's got to hold it and flip. You need both your hands.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I have a follow-up question. Now, this is a very...
Stop asking all the questions. I have questions.
Because there are things I've been wanting to ask about for a while. So
All right.
a priest of the diocese of some note once told me that, I'm not going to name him right now, but he listens, he knows who he is, that the direction that the person holding the crozier actually determines whether or not he's the ordinary of the diocese.
So there's a tradition about that, and I don't know. I haven't actually looked this up to see if that's a actual rubric or if it's just a normal practice.
Yeah.
But traditionally, if you're not the ordinary, you hold the crozier in the opposite direction.
So it's towards your ear?
Right.
Okay.
And if you are the bishop, I believe you hold it out.
Okay. See, I told you it was an interesting question.
And I remember learning that when I was a seminarian because Newark had a lot of auxiliary bishops.
Yeah.
And the one auxiliary bishop pointed that out to us in a very, very joking, laid-back manner. Like he really didn't care. But thought it would be fun to tell guys that kind of stuff.
Oh, well, I like that.
But there is some truth to that, yeah.
Okay. That's the kind of stuff I enjoy.
Same thing, like technically when a bishop goes to another diocese, he generally asks if he can bring those types of things and use them because he's not the shepherd of that particular diocese. So that is a symbol of his leadership and his authority, right? To both guide and protect the sheep, right? Yeah. That's what a shepherd would use his crook for, to beat off the wolves, but also to gently nudge the sheep in the right direction.
And if anyone's wondering, I have actually seen bishops use their crozier to yank people.
Oh, yeah.
In a playful way. But
yes.
It's actually fun when you actually see it happen. Yeah.
Right. There's some bishops I've seen them when their crozier's a little bit longer. They'll touch the head of a kid. That's a very nice blessing and so forth. And kind of saying, okay, you're the next priest.
Yeah. Well, I know Bishop Sullivan's always been great with his Mozetta, right?
Right.
Yeah. He's great about when
he's... Zucchetta, right?
Zucchetta, rather, yeah, I'm sorry. His Zucchetta, he's great about putting a Zucchetta on a kid's hat. And they love it.
He'll do that. He'll put a mitre on a kid's head, take the picture.
It's so cute.
He'll have kids hold his crozier.
Yeah.
That type of stuff.
Yeah, that's adorable. All right. What question did you have?
Well, now you got me thinking about the crozier. Now you're going to yank me out of that black hole because now I've got like all these exciting things.
You know, some of them are handmade, some of them are metal.
Right.
And we could have an entire podcast on mitres alone.
Have you seen? No, I was thinking about the crozier.
Okay.
So Bishop Williams is dedicated to St. Patrick. So I don't know if you've
his crozier.
Yes.
Okay.
So it has the clover there. So there's not a lot of room to grab. I don't think it kind of goes in on itself. Just want you to know that. But I've had so many people asking me why a coadjutor, why not just the bishop come on in.
Depends from the needs of the diocese to diocese. So some dioceses, the bishop might not actually be at retirement age, or he might just need a little assistance in terms of the size of the diocese and the number of things that he would normally do to give him that assistance, while also preparing that man who is his assistant as the coadjutor to take the reins. So, and I think in our case, it's a matter of Bishop Sullivan is of still sharp mind and so forth, and he has no problem really getting around and things like that, and allows a younger bishop, such as Bishop Williams, to kind of really learn from him as a mentor and ease into the position so that it's more seamless when he actually takes over. So it's just more a matter of giving him some really good on-the-job training, kind of ease him into being the ordinary of the diocese.
And actually, I've seen
that's the simplest way to put it.
There was an article recently about how a lot more bishops are requesting coadjutors for just that reason, because it's such a benefit to the coadjutor to be able to learn the diocese.
Right.
You know? So.
And I think one thing that, just from what I've seen a little of Bishop Williams and what we've heard from his time in Minnesota, is that Bishop Sullivan loves to go out with the people. Bishop Williams loves to go out and meet the people. So I'm hoping that we'll see them a lot together over the next 8 or so months. I suspect we will.
For various things, yeah. For certain other things, he'll go, like, I believe he's set to do some confirmations, for example, and that'll just be him. And Bishop Sullivan will do some others. I think they split them, which is good for Bishop Sullivan. It kind of breaks his schedule down so he's not out like every night, or just for like a whole month, just out every night. Maybe it's it's a little bit truncated, right? A little bit low.
Which is something you know well. I mean, you were the bishop's secretary for a number of years.
But I just had to show up for those things. I didn't do very much.
Yeah, but you had to go to them. I mean, there was stuff going on all the time. I remember that.
It was nonstop with him.
Yeah. Bishop Sullivan, to my knowledge, has taken 2 sick days in the 11 years he's been here. 2 sick days. Only missed 1 event of those 2 sick days. So that, and I mean, 79 years old, and he's an Irish bull.
So we're hoping that we'll give him a little bit more rest, which is always good for him.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And me.
And it'll give again Bishop Williams just kind of eases him into the whole thing. He's not just kind of thrown into the mix, and he'll have somebody to actually learn from, so to speak.
But Bishop Williams, I do know that Bishop Williams and Bishop Sullivan will be doing the high school masses together for the next month, the opening masses. That was what I was told, as Jen looks at me with side eye. So that's changed. But I was under the impression they were doing it together.
And that, I don't know those things. I don't have to take care of those schedules anymore.
That's your job.
But I mean, like, he came to a priest funeral. When he first got here. I mean, he was only here like a day. And he came to the funeral, which was good. It was good to see them together. And it was good that he was there. He got to meet some more of his priests and some of the people. So
he got to spend his first Labor Day weekend out in Ocean City. I'm sure that was an experience. Did that come up during your interview?
Everywhere he's been has come up. He's, like you say, he celebrated Mass on the feast day, and at the end of August he went to the priest's funeral. I think presided alongside Bishop Sullivan. The very next day he went to a first profession of vows for a sister in Bridgeton, and then Holy Angels, and spent a gazillion masses in Ocean City. And he celebrated, I think, every mass that morning. And I think on Monday too. So he has been busy. But as I said, everything that you hear and that I've read in the Catholic Spirit, the newspaper for the Diocese of St. Paul in Minneapolis, and our coverage, he's at all the photos. He's out. He's known for door-to-door evangelization and building up his own parish, building it with almost to over 1,000 people. That's what he does. He loves to be with the people, and that came out a lot during our conversation, during our interview, is how much he's looking forward to getting to know the people of the Diocese of Camden, the parishes, and the different territories.
Okay.
And riding his bike. His mountain bike, because he's a big mountain biker.
I've already got some not for air like mountain bike stories that are classic South Jersey introductions.
Have you seen the tires? Did you know? I didn't. I just have cycled in my life, but not mountain.
It's a fat tire. Right?
Yeah, but it's a fat tire for winter. So winterized, they're like metal spikes. I didn't know that because I don't like the snow. But when I saw some of those photos, he mentioned it, of course. And then when I saw some of the photos of those tires, I was like, whoa. And also, is it bad of me that every time somebody says fat tire, I just think of the beer?
No, I'd say that's perfectly normal.
Accurate?
As a matter of fact, yeah.
Okay.
But
I want to talk about the Mass.
I wanted to try and transition to that too.
All right, so let's just talk about the Mass.
Okay.
There's going to be people watching on live stream.
There are.
Hopefully lots of people.
Yeah.
There'll be people in the pews, and there's going to be some different movements in the Mass.
Not as much as you might think.
Not that much. I mean, one of the things that will happen, he'll be presented with the decree or the bull, as they call it, which has to do with the little lead seal or medallion that's on the thing, which has Peter and Paul and usually the Holy Father at the time that it's given on each side of it. That actually assigns him or decrees that he is, now the coadjutor in the Diocese of Camden.
And he walks up and down the aisle with that?
And what the nuncio likes to have him do is he'll first bring it over to show it, number one, to Bishop Sullivan. This is what he has to do. He has to show the decree to Bishop Sullivan. He has to show the decree to the College of Consultors. And then I have to make sure that I witness that, which is why I'll be there. And that'll all be documented. But then the nuncio likes him actually walk around the entire church and show everybody. By showing that document, that's how he takes possession of the office, or is officially now the coadjutor, we would say, right?
Yeah.
If he was coming as the bishop of the diocese, the actual ordinary, there would be one more step. They would actually sit him in the cathedra.
Yeah.
But since he's not taking over the diocese, that won't happen. They'll sit him someplace else more prominent.
Yeah.
Sometimes, in some places, depending on how the sanctuary is, I'm not sure what our plan is. Sometimes they sit him right next to the bishop.
I know where he's going.
Yeah. I don't.
That's why I turned my head and looked sharply at you.
And this way, there'll be that symbolism of them sharing one office, so to speak, and working in tandem. There'll also be introduction of various people from the diocese and other religious organizations or other churches or religious groups will also be represented. So some of the politicians will be represented. So people will come up and actually greet him. I'm not sure how long of a line that is, but that could take some time. They'll come up and say hello, we'll shake their hands, and welcome
During
him.
the Mass?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's actually we kind of jumped the gun a little bit on some of the stuff I wanted to talk about with the Mass.
Is that the evil eye you gave me?
Yeah.
Well, those are like the most,
Always
for
start
me,
in the
those
middle.
are always the most prominent parts.
Well, I agree with you, except for one thing. The thing that everybody enjoys watching is the procession in. Because everybody wants to see, okay, what priest is there, what deacon is there,
Sure.
which of the bishops have come, that kind of stuff. Oh, like you're not going to be excited if Bishop Barron walks down the.
I want to see the nuncio in the walking.
Well, you will. He's definitely coming in.
Talk about your profession. That too.
You wouldn't talk about my profession,
the
but
processions in and out are
yeah,
exciting.
Yeah,
Particularly the one in.
I love that song.
Yeah, and it's interesting to see how the priests react. Because it's funny, I know it sounds weird, but occasionally they like to selfie as people are walking in. So they will grab their the ones that are sitting in the seats. I don't know if it's necessarily professional, but they can't help themselves. There's a nuncio walking right past them.
We'll try to tell them not to do those things to keep decorum.
Keep decorum.
But
if anyone saw Pope Francis Mass at the Basilica in Philadelphia, it was the funniest thing I've ever seen. Every single priest there turned around with their cameras and was taking pictures of the Pope coming in. So might not be quite the same for the nuncio, but
I probably won't. I'll just keep watching it on YouTube over and over again. if I'm that interested.
We're gonna have good camera angles.
I was there. I walked down the aisle. I got to my pew. And,
that sounds like a T-shirt.
You're lucky I don't have a watch because I'm like, man, I can't believe it took 20 minutes to get in here.
I bet.
It is a long procession.
But it will be a long procession.
There'll be a lot of priests.
Because there's also other dignitaries that will be, like, for example, there'll be Knights of Columbus, Knights of Malta, or not Knights of Malta. We don't have any of those.
Actually, we do have one.
We do have one. I don't know if he's coming, but
know.
the Knights of the Holy Sepulchre, some other groups, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So they're part of the procession in and out.
Other bishops?
All the other bishops that will be there. Any cardinals? I'm not sure if any cardinals are
two
coming.
cardinals. Cardinal Tobin
will be there.
And then Cardinal Christophe Pierre will be there. And Cardinal Christoph will have remarks at the very beginning.
Right.
And he's pretty funny. So it'll be interesting. He likes to yuck it up a little bit in his remarks, so you ought to watch that.
And as we see all that come together, we're reminded the reason why they're all there is it shows the unity of the church, right? That we're all in communion. With the nuncio being there, we're saying that you're in union with the Holy Father. You're part of the Catholic communion, right? The other bishops in the area as well. And each of those bishops will also, we don't think of this so much these days, because we're so focused, I think, so much on individuality, but we forget that the bishop actually represents, in a very real way, the entire diocese, the entire church in Camden, right? So they're representing their churches as they're here for that presence. So say, we're in communion with one another, right? The episcopacy represents that union, and it represents that witness ultimately of the apostles of the resurrection of Christ, right? And I think a lot of times we lose sight of that, that Jesus is risen from the dead, and that's the source of our faith. That's the source of our hope. That's the source of our salvation, right? So that's what we're ultimately bearing witness to. All this means nothing if Jesus isn't risen, right?
And that really is the amazing thing. So it's easy to get lost in all the pomp and circumstance. And I've said this many times, I'm a big fan of pomp and circumstance, but it all plays a role. There's importance to it.
Right.
It's really, truly edifying to see everybody coming together so joyously. And it is a might be going a little far to call it a fun experience, but it is joyful. It's absolutely, it's a exciting day. There are a number of events that are going on around that day. There's a luncheon beforehand for the VIPs, and then there's the actual massive welcome, which we should say the massive welcome is also not an installation, which we kind of referenced earlier. It's the one area where being named a coadjutor is sort of a bummer because you don't get the proper installation.
Correct. So it's not an installation mass like we did with Bishop Sullivan all those years ago. So instead of we call it this massive welcome to just kind of say we welcome you into the diocese, and he kind of becomes wedded to us. Yeah. He becomes one of us, so to speak. So it should be a nice event. It should be really a joyous day, as you said, and from there, the next day we'll really get the ground running as he really takes office, so to speak, and really starts to. Right now, he's just kind of been transitioning. Like, okay, where did I put that? Where's this thing? Where do I go for this or that? Who do I talk to about that? Right.
Well, wait a second.
Just getting all those things.
You interviewed him. Is his office ready yet? Was his office finished? Do you not know how to answer that question?
I don't.
No.
Thank you, Father.
It's mostly set. He's got a desk. He's got a chair.
Okay. It's a very nice desk.
It's a very nice desk.
I know. I had a cardboard table when I was in there.
Yeah, it was the weirdest thing.
A nice view, though.
This is a nice view. We sat right by the window.
Actually,
he had two chairs set right next to the window, face to face. So we could look out over
Philadelphia, not our diocese.
No, and our diocese.
About 12 feet of our diocese.
Of it,
Actually, it's kind of. I don't know if it's a sore subject, but.
I wasn't going to say it if you're going to do it.
Bishop Williams' office is, in fact, the former chancellor's office, the current chancellor's former office.
I wasn't going to say it.
He has this great broom closet he's in now. It's really nice.
I get to look out over the part of the city that I lived in, so it's all right.
There you go.
There you go. That's what 676 is beautiful that time of the it's very nice. It's a very nice office, and by the way, that was very kind of you too. To give up your space.
We can just thank Father Hughes.
The Vicar General.
They run all that stuff.
Oh, there you go. I was going to put him in the office opposite Father Hughes, between him and
I volunteered to go to that office, and they said, no, you have to go down the hall.
Yes.
Oh.
They didn't want to see you.
That's the truth.
You're always welcome over here.
You're very kind.
You can have our space in the vault anytime you want.
You can even paint it a different color if you want.
Can't do that.
No, I have this is good for sound, apparently.
Yellow?
don't think
I like how you guys both looked at the walls. Really? Really?
well, it is good. Well, the funny thing is,
You really are punchy.
We're
It's
very
true.
Funny,
could be
But the thing is,
influenced
I
easily.
painted it because it is actually good for creativity. It inspires creativity, which is why all of our podcasts are award-winning because of all the creativity.
You know, when I think inspiration, I do usually think Mike Walsh. I mean, those two things go right hand in
Really?
hand.
You know,
I don't.
Listen,
Nor do I think of yellow when I think of inspiration. That's all right.
I like
That
we
made
all-
us think.
I like that we all just let that sit there for a minute.
We all let that. We gotta think about that. Deep thoughts with Father Rocks.
There are no others. The mass of welcome. It's essentially a mass. It'll have a few more bells and whistles. It'll be
Correct.
long. It'll be like
It'll be-
2.5 hours.
It'll be long, particularly since you have a very long procession in and out.
Yeah.
There are, he's going to process around the church, showing everybody the bull, letting everybody know that, yep, I have been assigned here and so forth. The Holy Father entrusts this to me, and I've accepted. And there'll be all the people coming up, and there'll be different, to greet him as representatives of people from the diocese, or, and then there'll be remarks and things like that. So it's a little bit longer, and it's going to take some time with communion and so forth. But overall, it's okay, and it's going to be a very good event, and it's going to be very prayerful, I'm sure, and very joyous.
Yeah. And it does finish with a dinner. It's funny. You talked about how it's wedded. It's not exactly a wedding reception, but it is. There's a formal dinner afterwards, which also, folks, is ticketed. So if you don't have a ticket, you can't come. But
Nice.
So, hey, listen. I know some people want to come to all these things, and I hate to have to tell them, I'm sorry, it's ticketed. But I also don't want to make anybody think that they can just get in because it's a bummer. But I should say, after I've said all of that stuff, Bishop Williams, in addition to all of the events that they have going on in the diocese, there are actually going to be 5 deanery events held throughout South Jersey every Wednesday from late September to the end of October. 5 events where Bishop Williams will be going to meet the people. And so if you are a parishioner in that deanery, deaneries are the way the dioceses are split up for logistical reasons. You are more than invited. He'll have mass, and there'll be a welcome reception afterwards, and you can go up and chat with him and get your selfies with him and all kind of stuff. So he'll be very present in the diocese.
Correct, and those will be much more personable things, because they're not the big events. There also won't be that rush of trying to keep a schedule, that type of thing. It'll be much more laid back. And you'll be able to really encounter him and experience him just kind of one-on-one.
Yeah, you can have a 2-hour interview with him. Listen, I've been in his presence long enough to know that he enjoys chatting with folks, and when he chats with you, you are the only person he's talking to.
Absolutely.
That part is very true. He's very attentive to whoever he's talking to.
Yeah.
And he remembers everybody's name. I know he probably doesn't want me saying that because in case he doesn't, but I actually asked him in the interview, do you have like some kind of a photographic memory with names? Because he was telling me stories from like 2000 and earlier. And
He could have been making up those names. Did you know that?
I was going to say the exact same thing. Because I got news for you.
I do that.
I've done that.
I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt, Bishop Williams. So here's a question that I find very curious. So so we'll say the massive welcome first.
Okay.
We'll have Bishop Williams and Bishop Sullivan and two cardinals. Do all the bishops sit up?
I know the answer.
And then also, it's a twofold question. You know the answer because you've been helping plan it, right?
Yeah, I know the answer.
But my second question is, when they are together, like at a Mass of the Holy Spirit for high school, who celebrates Mass and who con-celebrates, or do they technically both celebrate?
So we
need
wouldn't
to
be able to
these
fit
things.
all the bishops that are coming
I need to know these things.
into the
appreciate that.
sanctuary. Okay, so there'll be a section that'll just be bishops, just like there'll be sections for priests and sections for deacons and so forth, right? The 2 cardinals will definitely they should be in the sanctuary, probably with 2 chaplains. I don't know if they're going that route. No, they're not. That's sad. That's what we did when Bishop Sullivan was there. Because I know Dolan was here. I don't know if there was another cardinal that day.
I wasn't here then, so I don't remember.
Yeah. So, but that's where they would sit. And Bishop Sullivan will be up in the presider's chair. He'll be the principal presider, I believe. And then it's funny because technically they're both con-celebrating, but we saw, he's the principal presider. I'm not sure how they're going to do other masses where they're together.
Flip a coin?
Typically, it would generally be, the bishop of the diocese is always the celebrant.
Mm-hmm.
That's a typical thing. But he could do something.
I guess the one reason I'm asking is because, like, I've known that I've gone to masses and, let's say there's a bishop and a priest in the sanctuary. But if the bishop is not celebrating mass, then he's off to the side.
He will sit in choir.
Right.
He'll sit in choir, particularly if it's his diocese.
Right.
Right.
So I guess that was my question, because especially with cardinals up there, then technically the cardinals.
Right, but they'll probably be in.
Yeah,
I would think they'll be in choir dress. I don't know that they're actually.
No.
Are they going to console?
Oh shoot. I actually don't know the answer to that now.
See, because that's the way I'm, again, not being involved with that part, I'm not sure what the plan is.
My expectation is...
Ordinarily, they would be there in choir and they would just sit.
Okay.
They would actually come in towards the end of the...
it could go either way. I know where they're sitting. I don't know how they're vesting. I know... the cardinals will be on the, usually where the priests sit for the Christmas Mass and stuff like that.
They'll be over in that pulpit side.
They'll be in that pulpit side, right? Yeah. And I know it's going to be Cardinal Tobin and Cardinal Pierre. I think Archbishop Hebda is going to be over there. I think Archbishop Perez from Philadelphia might be there. And then I think the rest of the bishops will be in the pews. I think there's only going to be a
There'll be a whole section.
Yeah, there'll be a whole section. I do know that for the Mass itself, it'll be, since we're not doing this at the cathedral, we have sort of a travel cathedra for when we have big events at St. Agnes Church. So in the travel cathedra will be Bishop Sullivan in an sort of higher stature chair will be Bishop Williams, and then there'll be two deacons on either side, and then a litany of. We're gonna have a ton of MCs. We can't throw a dead cat in that place without hitting
right.
MC.
There's so many moving parts with all that. You have to herd all those people into their pews and where they're at and which way to go.
Sure.
So.
It's very technical. The MCs were there at St. Agnes last night, going through. Actually, and they were making changes to the plans, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, I just find it interesting because, I've been at weddings where there's a bishop and a priest, and if the bishop doesn't celebrate, people ask me, and I just like to know the answer because people are asking me. People are curious. I'm talking for the common man.
Listen, I'm one of those curious people.
So just to kind of, in a very, very broad way, right? The bishop is the principal priest of the diocese, okay? And when there's a mass, in his diocese, he's expected really to be the principal celebrant, and other priests would con-celebrate with him. And it shows the oneness of priesthood, and they're sharing in his priesthood, so to speak. When he's not the principal celebrant, the more normal way or traditional way they would have done it is he would have sat in choir to the side because he's not the celebrant, but he might still be considered the presider. There's different ways to do all this kind of stuff. It's not unusual, for example, at a funeral for a priest's parent, Bishop Sullivan to sit in choir, but then at the very end come over and do the prayer of commendation, right? And allow the priest to be the celebrant and so forth. So.
I'm going to have to write all these rules down for the copy for Catholic Star Herald.
Well, you want the two cardinals to be in choir because that's
that's
when they're going full red.
Right, that would be,
yeah.
That would be. But again, I don't know what the expectations of Christophe Pierre are.
I actually don't. Well, it's funny because as we're talking about this, I have seen him do both. So I don't know which one he'll do.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know what the plan is for that.
I'm glad you keep saying in choir because I always call it in concert, and I know that that's wrong. And I'm I'm close.
Right. But whatever way it works out, it's going to be okay.
It's going to be beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
It's only going to be chancellors are the only one that's going to know if anything went awry.
And trust me, I'm just going to be there for the event.
Do you want to come on the episode number 401 and let us know everything that was done wrong?
I probably wouldn't say a word about any of it.
Probably.
Listen, the truth of the matter is, all those rubrics are important, and they need to be followed, and we're going to certainly do our best to follow them. There's usually some flexibility in the ways these things run, but they are a joy to watch. Like to prepare for this, I've had to watch a lot of other installation and massive welcomes, and they are fun. I love watching them. I actually just rewatched Bishop Barron's, as a matter of fact, just to see how things worked and stuff like that. And it's a great experience. So I hope for the people who are there, make sure you're hydrated, drink your water before you get in there. You're going to be in there a little while. You got to get there early because the procession starts early, and you're not going to be able to enter the premises past a certain time. So I think you have to be there you have to be in your seat by 1:30, which is around when the procession is going to start. You have to have your parking passes, have to have your tickets, all that kind of stuff. And then just sort of, allow like any other mass, sort of allow what you see to kind of wash over you. Because it really is. How often, okay, I'm probably saying this to the wrong person as I'm looking at you. How often do you get to be in a mass with a ton of bishops and the entirety of the presbyterate for the Diocese of Camden?
It's very rare.
Yeah.
Or it's not something you do every day, let's put it that way, or even once a year. The closest it comes is really the Chrism Mass or an ordination. Yeah. That's usually just the bishop and his presbyterate, right?
Yeah.
To see so many different bishops is a little bit different. To have the nuncio there is definitely different. To have the cardinal come down from Newark, he's been down for other things, but
And and actually one of my favorite parts of either an installation or a massive welcome is the greeting of dignitaries. It's because there'll usually be a rabbi, there'll usually be an imam. Right. So you have these other faiths. Oftentimes we'll have the bishop, the Episcopalian bishop there. He'll join us. And then we'll have various politicians. And I know at least one mayor is going to be there. I'm not sure how many other mayors we have, but everybody was invited. I know there's not very many politicians come, but there's a couple. And it's just kind of fun to see. For me, I like the idea I like when secular world and religious world intertwine, because we're supposed to be a part of this culture, and it's nice to welcome under our rules that secular life in, or the other religions in, to be a part of it and see how we do such a massive event. And we talk about the rarity of this, just to go back to the rarity. The diocese has been around since 1937. We've only had 8 installations, and this is our first massive welcome. So it is a rare. Mm-hmm. It's a rare opportunity.
This is our first coadjutor.
Mm-hmm.
I believe we've only had 2 Episcopal ordinations in the diocese. One would have been Bishop Shad, who was our auxiliary bishop. Another one would have been a bishop who was a priest from our diocese. I can't remember his name, so I'm confusing
Youngson?
with a different. But he went down to Brazil.
Oh, right.
Yes.
And then was named a bishop down there.
Yeah.
But if I'm not mistaken, he was consecrated up here.
Yes.
At St. Rose.
Mm-hmm.
So, these are just things that just don't happen all the time in our diocese.
Yeah.
So it is nice to see all that stuff.
Yeah, it's a little bit of the Vatican here too. This is very much, it ties us to everything else. So it's a great event, and I hope people. I know we're kind of nerding out on it, and that's something I enjoy doing and I know you enjoy doing it too, Jen, because we don't usually get an opportunity to do stuff like that because it's so unique. Listen, it's moments like this when I wish there was a plan back in the day to build a brand new cathedral in Camden. It wasn't that long ago. It was like year 2000. There was a serious consideration to. There's a lot of space available on the waterfront and building a new cathedral in Camden. It never came to fruition.
Wow.
And while our cathedral is beautiful, It is a wee bit tiny. So it only seats 400, which is why we're having this at St. Agnes, which seats 1,200, I think. And so part of me laments the fact that we're not doing this in a big, beautiful cathedral, but at the same time, it's very South Jersey.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. It is a good, salt of the earth, people of the good, hardy people of South Jersey.
Hardy.
Yeah. There's also and if you're into I think the profession of faith is going to be said in the intercessions are going to be said in 9 languages, I think.
Quite possibly,
including one being sign language. It'll be all the languages of the diocese and sign language, which is one of the languages of the diocese. Mm-hmm. So that'll be fun. You'll appreciate that. Are you coming, Jen?
I hope so.
Okay.
I really hope so. Mm. It's one of the...
Were you invited?
Yes, okay. I was invited.
Right.
As long as we can get the Catholic Star Herald out on time, I will be there. Okay.
We should let everyone know.
Yep.
The Catholic Star Herald, if you need a weapon, the next Catholic Star Herald is the one to do because it's going to be 76 pages. Mm-hmm. If in any way, shape, or form you need to beat off a bear, some sort of bear attack or something like that, or a gaggle of Minnesotans, I don't know if it can be. I don't know if you can twist it up. It's going to be so.
I actually don't know if you are either because it's 56 of those 76 pages are a special tribute to Bishop Williams, and it has special paper stock, so it will be a little heavier. So you probably could ward off a bear if needed in South Jersey.
All right.
Yeah, you might just have to use it like full as is. You might be able to roll it up a little bit. But would you want to? First off, bears are our people.
I know where to get another one. But and actually, in South Jersey, we just have black bears, and you can probably pet those. So it's not like it's a grizzly or anything like that.
Are there bears in South Jersey?
They've been a few that have migrated.
Every now and then they see one.
Father looks doopy.
No, we've had
the bear population up north is growing, so eventually they could move down south again. Right. And there was just a few years ago.
Yeah,
there were sightings like in the Sewell area, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we had a cougar down here once. Mm-hmm. All sorts of problems.
Then you know what? You're welcome, listeners and subscribers of the Catholic Star Herald. It might save your life.
That's right. Or prop up a table.
Spiritually and physically save your life.
There you go. But it is, I've seen a lot of it. In addition to the 3,000 word interview you did with Bishop Williams, there's actually a lot of great stuff in there. A great story about him rescuing 2 parishioners during the riots in Minneapolis a couple of years ago during the George Floyd incident. Mm-hmm. A lot of really good stuff. I didn't, it's funny. We've only seen him as he looks now. Mm-hmm. There were a couple of throwback photos. And I was like,
there's a lot.
Look at that baby priest.
There's a couple of photos. His mother has been very kind, helping me identify some of the photos of him as a boy and a teenager. And he's very gracious to say, "Oh, you're using that photo, Jen? Okay." Very kind.
Yeah. When he does take over the diocese, which will happen seamlessly on March 17th, assuming the resignation is accepted that day, I'll actually have to wake up at 6 a.m. Eastern time to get on the Vatican website to make sure that the Vatican has actually announced the resignation. But once that resignation is announced, Bishop Williams immediately becomes the 9th Bishop of Camden. Right. And there's no pomp and circumstance with that. We're going to have something nice.
We'll probably do something to recognize it. Because that's something to be celebrated. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's just something different, and it's a little different than what we're used to. But
you could bring some baked goods.
Bishop Williams, congratulations on being the 9th Bishop of Camden. Here's a Jewish apple cake. Well, actually, on March 17th, it'll be Irish soda bread. Here's some Irish soda bread.
Yes.
And some Guinness pie.
I think it's a grand idea.
And some Guinness. I do enjoy cooking with Guinness. You want to make something really chocolatey? You bake with Guinness. Yeah, seriously. I mean, it creates a mocha flavor. It's really, really good.
You should try it on March 17th, 2025.
I'll be honest with you. I don't need an excuse.
Why wait?
Yeah, really. Father Father knows, I took pity on the fifth floor, the secretaries of the bishop of the fifth floor. They were working so hard. I took it upon myself to give them an enormous amount of chocolate chip cookies, bake for them an enormous amount of chocolate chip cookies.
Three cookies with one little piece of chocolate in each.
No, it was a giant vat of cookies. And what I told them was, because usually they put it in the kitchen, I said, no, you cannot put this in the kitchen. This is only for people who are cookie worthy. So you only distribute it to cookie worthy people.
Gotcha.
I had 7, but I was self-determined. Hey, man, I'm cookie worthy.
You are.
Look at the size of me. Anyway, to our listeners, thank you all very much. I'm sure we'll have a bit of a actually, no, I take that back. Hold on. What are we doing? I don't know what our next. We actually have 2 podcasts coming up, and they've both been pre-recorded. So we may not have a recap of how everything went, but the next time we record post massive welcome, we'll give you the blow by blow on everything we screwed up. So thank you all for checking in with us, and we'll talk to you later. See you, everyone.